Today we're talking about that time Americans used good old-fashioned brute force and American muscle to dominate the Europeans on their home turf. Now, to the uninitiated, when they think American motorsports, they think big engines but straight lines. They don't think road courses, let alone something as prestigious as the 24 Hours of Le Mans. However, in the early 2000s, that didn't stop the Americans from, not only showing up, but dominating. You start with things like this. It's the Saleen S7. It's one of my dream cars, and they made a GT1/GTS version of it to tackle the great race in France. Now, it looks every bit the European car, however, underneath it was an engine. It just so happened to be a 427 cubic inch Ford V8. Mid-engine, 427 cubic inch Ford V8. Where have I heard that before?
So, you already put that in a GT40.
Yeah, and it worked pretty well for the GT40, but not to be outdone, Chrysler came along and decided they also wanted to follow some of the Shelby magic and take a huge engine and stuff it in a lightweight chassis. And their engine of choice, well, that was the monstrous 8-liter V10 that they were using to power some of their bigger pickup trucks. However, at the time, they owned Lamborghini, so they just went, hey, Luigi, make this out of aluminum, send it back to us. Great. And the end result, well, you should know by now, it was the Viper, specifically the Viper GT-SR, which was a race car, and it dominated. It won Le Mans, it won Daytona, it won pretty much everywhere it went. And lastly, you have Corvette, which saw what Saleen was doing, saw what Viper was doing, and said, we can do that. We have a car for the job, and it was the C5 Corvette. They ditched the 5.7 liter LS1, put in a 7 liter 427 cubic inch race engine that would later become the LS7, and headed off to the road courses. Now, in the year 2000, Dodge actually won overall, beating prototypes in the process at the 24 Hours of Daytona. The year later, 2001, Chevy did the exact same thing with the C5R, and finishing second in class and fourth overall just so happened to be the number 3 car. Chevrolet. Yep, it was Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. along with 2 other guys finishing 4th overall in one of the most prestigious endurance races in the world. However, Corvette was not done. See, Viper, well, it was on its way out. Saleen would eventually follow suit, leaving only Corvette to take on the might of the Europeans. Things like the V12 powered monsters that were the 575 out of Ferrari. You had things like the Aston Martin DB9R. Corvette, well, it took them on, and it beat them. In fact, Corvette was so dominant, and even after nerf, after nerf, after nerf, they still kept winning. They won so much that, well, nobody wanted to compete with them anymore. So the GTS class it competed in died.